Welcome back, guys. Today we're doing a Hipfire. So I was going through my little book here of video ideas, and one of the things that came up is something that's pretty relevant right now. My buddy is trying to set up his own reloading press bench setup. So he was asking me, what kind of press should I get? What do you recommend? This, that, and the other. So today we're going to go over the different types of presses and some pros and cons, in my opinion, personally. Um, now, I'm by no means an expert. I don't own all the presses. I can't tell you how everything works. I know what I know from my own personal research, and all of my stuff is single stage press. So that's where I know the most as far as it goes with this topic. So there's three different styles of press. There's a single stage press, which is what you see me using here all the time. There's turret presses, and there's progressive presses. Now there's some caveats. There's a couple of weird hybridy style deals, and they're kind of in their own category. I don't really, like I said, all my experience is on a single stage press, so I don't have very much knowledge as far as those style presses go. Like the Lee APP, automatic priming press, I believe is what it stands for. That's kind of a weird hybrid. It's like a mix of a progressive but also a single stage. It's kind of a weird deal. So all of my knowledge from firsthand experience comes from single stage presses. So I'm kind of just going to go over the pros and cons, in my opinion, for each style of press. And like he wanted to know what style press should he get. He wants to load bulk 9 mil, bulk 223 or 5.56, and he wants to get something that's fairly precise for. He wants to shoot some long range stuff as well. So I told him straight up, progressive presses or progressive press is probably not the way to go for him specifically. With how much bulk ammo and range ammo he's going to shoot, just carve out a day or two and load all of your ammo. It takes me from start to finish right around 6 to 7 hours to load 1,009 mil. It takes me somewhere close to, I would say, 3 hours, 3 to 4, to load 250 to 500 5.56 for range use. As far as it goes, I'm on a single stage press. I do a lot of my brass prep in the downtime between loads. So right now I have some 308 that I'm doing prep on. I would consider this bulk range ammo only. I wouldn't consider this usable for anything that's precision load based or hunting ammo. This is strictly like load it up and bring it out in an ammo can with the guys at the range. So it takes me a decent amount of time to do brass prep, but in between loading ammo, it's something that I always have something to keep myself busy with. So we're going to go over the pros and cons of all three of these. Like I said, there's single stage press, turret presses, and progressive presses. Those are your three main categories of press styles when it comes to reloading. So the pros about the single stage presses is they're fairly cheap to get into. They're a fairly low bar to hit to get into reloading. A lot of people, when they get into reloading, they think it's going to be a return on investment rather quickly. This is something that you have to be into for the long haul to get your return on investment. So as far as single stage presses go, they're fairly low bar to entry. Um, Depending on which model you get, if it's used or if it's got if it's old, like my old press that I had before this, the one that I used to deprime brass, that press is probably close to, I would say, somewhere between 25 and 30 years old. So it's got a lot of play in the ram as it goes up and down. There's a lot of slop. So depending on which model you get into, you can get very precise um, tolerances, or you can get an older unit that's used and been through the ringer. You know, it's not uncommon to have presses that are 30, 40 years old and still run same as the day they, came out of the factory. It all depends on how they were maintained, and the tolerance is really what comes into play when you're doing a single stage press. So long story short, the pros of a single stage press are that they're a cheaper option to get into if that's all you're looking for is to get into reloading. Um, they can be more precise. Uh, as it depends on, like I said, which model you get. This one is a fairly low play in any direction. This is actually a very good press. It's kind of on the pricey side for a single stage. I mean, there's single stage presses that get up into I think the last one I looked at was about $900, $900. I think I want to say. So this being just about 300, I think it's 250 to 300 for this specific press. This one is a good option for a person who's looking for a little less variance in uh, tolerance as far as their reloading goes. The problem is the con with single stage presses is they're slow as shit to do bulk reloading on, which is why a whole lot of people don't bulk reload with a single stage unless it's the only kind of press that they have. I like I said, I've done 1,009 mil in a day, and I've done about 250 5.56 just for range ammo, and it's a process, but it can be done. Is the point? Like, it's the drawback for a single stage press is that it's slow for doing a high volume of ammo, but the pro for the opposite side of that is that they can be more precise as far as more precision ammo goes. So that's a single stage press. Next, you got the turret press, which is kind of I want to call it a multi tool. It's a in between of a single stage press and a progressive press. A turret press, the only thing that it offers is that it has a rotating turret head on top, and it's still a single stage. You pull the ram and it goes up into whatever die is set in that position. The good thing about turret presses is they're kind of like a easy bake, set and forget. You set up all your dies for whatever caliber you want, and then they're set to go. You don't have to swap dies or nothing. Like with this, you're gonna have to pull this die out and put a different die in. And the turret press, you literally just turn the turret head and it's on to the next die. So the pros about the turret press are they're an easy setup. They're a set and forget style press, and they're a little less precise, but with the slight variation in tolerance, you get a easier to operate setup. So that's why I put it as a pro. It's a little less precise, and it's a step in between single stage and progressive. So it will do single stage press style things with the ease of setup as a progressive press will. So for the cons, I have it set up as the cons are it's more of a multi-tool. It's one of those, you get the in-between ground, you get kind of pros of both the single stage with a little bit more precision, and you get the pro of a progressive press of it's a little bit easier to operate. But the con is that it's a multi-tool. It doesn't do either function to the best of its abilities because it's a middle ground. It's one of the you get both style operations, but then you lose out on the precision, more precise quality of a single stage, and you also don't have the easygoing progressive style press. So it's good in its own right. It's just not something that I personally could see myself having unless I got it for a decent deal or something. It's got to be a very specific set of requirements before I pick up a turret press. And then you got the progressive press. The good thing about progressive presses, after they're set up and tuned correctly, because it's kind of like a car where you got to kind of tweak around with it and get it set right before you can start using it. But the pro is that it's fast and it does bulk ammo extremely well. Like a lot of people that I know personally that are doing thousands of rounds of ammo per year, they're using some variety of a progressive press. Now, progressive presses are more expensive to get into, but the reason for that is that they're kind of a manufacturing style press setup where every time you pull the handle down, it rotates either the shell plate or it's typically just they rotate the shell plate and every process is done. It's got the turret style head where it's got multiple dies in it, and the shell plate down here rotates. So you pull the handle, every single die is being utilized at the same time. It pulls the shell plate up, and like the front operation here would be like depriming, let's say. So while this operation is depriming, the next one is setting a primer and flaring the case or sizing the case. The next process is um, dropping a powder charge. The next process is setting a bullet in it. The next process is seating and crimping that bullet. And then as the shell plate rotates around to the first process again, it dumps out the finished round off of the side. So every time you run that press, it's utilizing every single spot of that turret head. So that's the good thing about progressive presses. Unfortunately, progressive presses are, typically speaking, rather expensive to get into and get set up and running correctly. And even on the low end, let's say the Lee, which is the budget friendly progressive press, the Lee options, even those, there's a quite a long list of modifications that a person who's looking to utilize their press to its full extent is going to have to go out and buy aftermarket modifications to make sure that their press runs as efficiently as possible. There's great options out there. There's automated options, progressive presses, the Dillon series. I don't remember the exact series number, but the Dillon presses, they you can literally get a computer, press run, and it'll run every operation on its own. It'll fully automate it. You press a button and walk away type of deal. So they're great for loading bulk ammo. As far as range ammo, stuff that you can just go plink with, they're great for that. Um, but on the con side of it, they're extremely expensive to get into. They're harder to set up and get running smoothly, and they have a habit of being finicky when you're running them. So I would love to get a progressive press. I will probably at some point in my reloading journey get a progressive press because I take about 1 day a year to load 9mm, and I take 1 day a year to load 5.56 to go out to the range. That may be changed now that I got my 300 blackout. I may also take a day to load a bunch of 300 blackouts to take out to the range. So with a single stage press, when I'm loading anywhere between 500 and 1,000 rounds, it's pretty much a dedicated day just to reloading that ammo for range use. Luckily, I only have to do it once a year, so it's not that big of a deal. I typically do it in the winter here when it's cold and I don't want to go outside. But as far as presses go, different styles of presses and options, this was just a quick list that I put together of pros and cons of each style of press. I don't think one is any necessarily better than the other. I think they all have their place in the reloading world, and it's all depending on use case. Whatever you're planning on loading for is going to dictate which press you're going to lean towards. So as far as single stage presses go, this is great for me. This press is extremely precise. It doesn't have a whole lot of variance. The tolerances are extremely tight. So this right here does pretty much everything I need it to do. As far as turret presses, they're not my thing. It's probably not something I'm going to be interested in unless it's like I said, a really good deal, something that you can't pass up on. Progressive presses, like I said, I would like to get one eventually just to more easily load range ammo. I mean, a progressive press, well set up and well running, even a manual operation, you got to pull the handle every single time. Even a manual operation progressive press would probably cut my range ammo load days down to probably half. So eventually I'd like to get one, but as of right now, the single stage press does basically everything I need out of a press. And this specific press, the RCBS Summit, it is a amazing press. The tolerances are pretty low. I mean, I even went in here with a wrench yesterday and tightened the linkages. So this linkage is tight. Like there's very little play side to side on this. So this one does everything I need it to do, and it does it well enough that I'm not in the market to buy another press. But if I can find a progressive press for a decent enough price, I wouldn't mind getting a Lee press, which is the budget end of the progressive presses, and get those modifications to um get those modifications to um get it to the point where every time you pull the hammer, it's already loading a case, it's loading a bullet, it's got the primer or the powder dropping in. Everything that you need to do that you would be doing manually on this press, I would like to get a progressive press that does that. So maybe, but not in the near future. So this thing will do it for me. Also, it's a special edition, number 872 out of 1,776 presses of this style. So this is an all right press for me. It does everything I need it to do, and it does it well enough that I'm not going to complain. So that's my pros and cons on the presses. That's kind of my quick description. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. You know, give me your opinions. This is the Hipfire series of videos is supposed to be a discussion between me and you guys. So let me know if you have any pros and cons that I missed out on. Let me know if you prefer a turret press or a progressive press over a single stage and why. Let me know, guys. I'm willing to reply to everything, and I really like hearing your opinions and feedback. So, till next time.